The psychology of lasting change. This is all about building healthy habits for life. So as always, I like to have a little learning outcome for these webinars. So for this one, we've got understand and apply the main psychological theories of behavior change to enhance client success. Now, the reason I wanted to do this one, I do have an interest in the psychology towards health and fitness. And I've had conversations with other experienced fitness professionals that have been in the industry, as long as I have. And we often say that when it comes to actually the training aspect and the nutrition, actually, there's nothing really that groundbreaking coming through. And I'd always argue there doesn't need to be either, because the training, the nutrition, that stuff's all there. You just got to action it. So it's not that the plan needs to be developed or the plan needs more research. It's people's adherence to the plan. I don't know what your thoughts on that, guys. Does that resonate with anybody? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I am reading a few kind of novel things coming out of the training, but they seem to be undoing recent statements and then retracting them. So it's churn in the kind of training department as opposed to actual new actionable stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, when it comes to actual sort of training, you can train badly. You can overtrain. You can have too much volume, too much intensity too soon, all that sort of stuff. But the actual getting a client and writing them a training program and a nutritional plan and get them to follow that. The actual planning aspect is quite straightforward. When you've been doing the job a while, it's quite easy actually. Um, it's the adherence bit, getting people to stick to it and continue doing it. That's always been the biggest challenge of personal trainers, coaches, therapists, etc. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is look at some of those psychological theories that are really, really common and that we can utilize as coaches to help people adhere to the plan, really. So on that note, before I start waffling on about what my favorites are, do you guys have any that you know of? It doesn't have to be necessarily like a psychological theory. If you do know any, great. But it could be just a technique, something that you use or you've read about, you've seen other people use that helps facilitate behavior change. So you can use a chat box or you can just say it out loud. It's entirely up to you. The only downside of the Zoom chat box is it's not like WhatsApp. Like I can't see anyone if they're typing or anything like that. So if there's, oh, there we go. So someone is typing because we've got smart targets. Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. In fact, that's number 5 that I'm going to be talking about today. It's the last one. So, yep, you already have got a good indication about smart goal setting. Thank you, Nathan. CBT and NLP, yep. I'm not going to talk about those, but absolutely, yeah. Cognitive behavior therapy and then neuro-linguistic programming, I think, isn't it? NLP. So yeah, 2 good suggestions there, Alan. Most of my experience has been with CBT, so I know about NLP and I've read some stuff about it, but a lot more about CBT, kind of my background. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to focus on my top 5 today. So these are the ones I'd say that I find just apply really nicely to coaching, and I've utilized them a lot. I've had to write assignments on them, and so I've sort of covered the theory, but I've also covered the practice of these. So first one we look at is the transtheoretical model of behavior change, social cognitive theory, theory of planned behavior, self-determination theory, and smart goal setting. Now I know you guys know about smart goal setting. Any others sound familiar? First one, maybe?
No, I'd say they're all new to me apart from the first and the fifth are the ones on the course notes that I've encountered, but the others are new to me.
Good. I'm glad you say that. if you guys are all like, yeah, we know those, John, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not going to be able to teach you much today then. Okay, let's kick off with the Transtheoretical Model of Behaviour Change. So this is quite a long one, but I really like it. It is quite involved, but it makes complete sense to me. Always has. So it's this idea that behaviour change is a process. So it's not an event. It's not like you click your fingers and we change our behaviour. There's certain stages you're going to work your way through. There's different versions of the model. So I'm going to be talking about the 6-stage model. So you've got pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and then potentially relapse. Relapse is almost, well, it is a stage, but it can happen at any of the stages. So it's this idea that we're working our way through these stages. So before I go into it, I want to see if you guys have got any understanding of that model and how any of it could be applied to coaching success. What are your thoughts?
Aren't there different strategies for people at different stages of preparedness, as it were?
Brilliant. Yeah, and I think for me, that's probably the most important thing to take home from that model. That's what I like about it. Instead of treating everybody the same, it's like actually we're all at slightly different stages. So the intervention has to be personalized depending on what stage they're at. So yeah, I love that, Alan. Anything else? Anyone? Don't worry if you haven't got a clue.
I would jump in with another actually, which I think is quite relevant. If a client understands the ability to use a model themselves, they can apply it to themselves. So if you describe someone how this process works, they can say, okay, well, I'm in this phase, so maybe I should be looking at this now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if there's a way that you can communicate it to clients that is simplistic, using layman terms that's sort of transferable and easy to understand. Often using things like infographics and stuff to convey that information is helpful, or even just in your messaging. So I'm talking about systemizing PT now, so this is like the business side, but if you had a client that was at a certain stage, it might be that you can actually, in your CRM system, for example, you tick a box to say, right, they're at that stage, and that will then cascade various emails over a given time frame that support the progression of that stage on to the next stage. It could be one email that just says you're at this stage, this is some great resources for you, check these out, read this handout, read my blog article, watch my video, just anything that's gonna, well, enhance the quality of your service and what you're doing. But really it's about client success. It's just optimizing that client success. So yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea. Just checking Nathan there. So to build on Alan's good point, celebrate the smallest successes towards overall goal. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, less black and white. I like that. Yeah, because the let's say the goal is to, like, let's go for something really ambitious, 10% body fat or whatever it may be. Well, if someone's at 25% body fat and they're fixated on this 10% body fat, it's a long time before they're celebrating. But actually there's tons of opportunities to celebrate throughout that journey, isn't there? And one of those is just successfully moving through the stages of behavior change. So celebrating each stage. Okay, so let's go through those stages in more detail. So the whole idea is you identify, okay, where is your client at right now? And I think, Alan, you kind of communicated that anyway, is during the consultation process, whether you decide to do that consultation remotely over Zoom, or whether you want to do it via an online form that you send out that you review at a later date, doesn't really matter. It's just establishing from all the information, all the data they give you, where are they at. Now, obviously, the gold standard is to sit down with somebody, have a form that prompts you to ask the right questions, so you don't have to remember everything, and you can document the responses. And that, but make sure those questions are open questions, so you have a good conversation. Really get to know that client, build a rapport in the process. demonstrate some compassion, some empathy, enthusiasm, showing your professionalism. Yeah, it's a really good opportunity to do all that. Now, of course, if you're building a scalable business where you want to reach out to as many people as possible, then you'd have something a little bit more automated than that. But then the price would reflect that. So face-to-face, live, PT is always going to be the pinnacle of your coaching services. But you're still trying to gather the same information. So first stage, pre-contemplation. Now it's unlikely that you're going to be dealing with those in an interview or a consultation, because we can assume that they've considered behavior change because they're sat there having a conversation with you about it. So the people that are at pre-contemplation are potentially those people out there that you're going to be communicating the sort of the pros of becoming more physically active, or the cons of not becoming physically active. So that's going to be like your social media. It could be, posters that you've got up and around your local area. It could be doing a presentation or a talk somewhere where the emphasis is on getting people thinking that we should all be taking part in physical activity. We should be conscious about our nutrition. We should be managing sleep, alcohol moderation, all that sort of stuff. So you get this person who's going, oh, do you know what? I've never even thought about that. Maybe I should take some action on this. I should do something about that. Now, I think in this day and age, and guys, feel free to challenge me, but I feel like in this day and age, there's a lot less pre-contemplators now, because there is a lot of information advice out there that communicates to us that we shouldn't be sedentary, we shouldn't eat ultra processed foods, we should be health conscious. Do you think there's enough education out there on that? And the silence is no, there isn't. Which obviously, the government do a lot of this stuff anyway. That's with the messaging that they put out there, and whether that's via the NHS and even the World Health Organization. But us as fitness professionals in this sort of digital age, we can do that with our graphics and our videos and all our positive touch points via our social media channels. All right. So we've got this guy or girl at the contemplation stage. So they're like, yeah, do you know what? I really should become physically active. I really do need to do something about it. And at this stage, they're aware it's beneficial. So we're building on that, really. So we're trying to pump that up even more and sort of supercharge that motivation and belief and attitude towards doing something about it. Because we all have ideas about stuff, don't we? I wanted to learn the guitar once, and numerous times there's so many things I thought I wanted to do, but actually actioning it and doing it, that's something quite different. I've been at the contemplation stage for many an idea over the years. The only one I've actually managed to action quite well is probably the health and exercise side of things, and obviously building a business. But the guitar playing failed. So the contemplation stage is going, all right, so you recognize it's a good thing, you want to take action. What's getting in the way of that? So we're trying to identify something. What are we trying to identify?
Maybe stopping them.
Yeah, what is stopping them? Because they're at this stage here, they're at the contemplation stage. We want to get them to the next stage, and something is stopping them from moving to that stage. Otherwise, they'd be there, wouldn't they? So it's what we call barriers. Usually there's some sort of barrier. So typical barriers, you've got time. Time's a big one, isn't it? Oh, I just don't have time at the moment. And we always have to demonstrate compassion and empathy, because we live busy lives and everybody has different responsibilities. So it can't be a case of, oh, well, just get up earlier. that is a plausible solution. Most people can just get up earlier to fit it in, but it's not quite as easy as it to action that as it is to say it. So it's just sort of gathering potential solutions and helping to kind of work out with your client which are going to be the best ones, most achievable and realistic for them to action. And actually, so for myself, is get up early and train. I know if I get up early, train, get it done, it doesn't get missed. It happens every day, and my day is better for it. So that is something I do promote, but I appreciate it's not for everyone. So you have to figure out what those barriers are. You've also got lack of confidence. So this is where if you've got a client who doesn't want to go into a gym environment because they're a bit intimidated, a bit scared, they're worried about looking silly, those guys are going to need probably some face-to-face PT. Online coaching is great, but if you're very anxious about going to a gym environment looking silly, you probably want someone there with you, coaching you throughout, demonstrating, and giving you a bit more nurturing. So that's a great sell for some PT there if you've got a client that has that barrier. You've also got people just saying, look, I just find it boring. Find it boring. So you can get them to exercise with friends. You can make sure that it's a gym that has a community that feels good for them, feels right for them. It's an environment that feels right for them. If you're someone that likes to be in a vibrant, buzzy place with big windows and natural light coming in, when you go around looking at gyms, you're going to be looking for that. So just being sort of intrinsically motivated, we'll come to more actually with another model later. So you're exploring all these things, you're looking at barriers, you're providing solutions to barriers, and then actually, calling people to action is a good one to move them on to that next stage. Well, look, here's a free taster, have a free consultation, here's a free 7-day trial, come to my class for free. So just calling them to action. And then that moves them on to the preparation stage. So this is where they've actually actively done something. So a lot of people get to the preparation stage and they stay here, they don't move on. And this is where you get that word relapse I mentioned earlier. People will have a relapse quite often at the preparation stage. So I think it was Amanda, wasn't it? The other Amanda, sorry, said the other day that often people book a singing lesson and then they don't come. And that's quite common with exercise classes. People book a class of their free trial class and they don't come. And can you guys remember what I said was a way to help prevent the relapse at that stage? I know you weren't there, Nathan, but
I remember us talking about making the client value it more by paying for it. So rather than it being a
yeah.
course, then if they put money down there, they're more likely to show up.
Yeah, that was a technique that was actually what Amanda suggested, which I didn't think was a bad idea, but it was the idea that, well, look, pay for your first one, but we refund it if you like it, I think, or something like that, I think. But no, what the one that I mentioned was if somebody goes onto your website and they go, oh, free class or free session, whatever, they submit a form and they download something that says, congratulations, you can book whatever. Just another little touch point. Do you remember that word touch point that we discussed? Positive touch point is make sure that triggers a notification to you to say this customer has booked their free trial or download their free trial, whatever it is. Give them a courtesy call to give them some more information or, nurture them basically. So you get on the phone, you say, hi, Alan. I'm John, Storm Fitness Academy. I just noticed that you've downloaded your free trial or you've booked your free class. Really looking forward to meeting you. Just to give you a heads up, you can park right outside the building. All the parking's free. It's a really friendly class. Everyone's very welcoming. Is there anything I need to know before it's just a nice little sweetener, isn't it? And then when they arrive, you're looking out for them. You see them come in and, big smile, handshake, introduce them to the class, make them feel welcome. That's going to be a game changer. So it's just nurturing them along the way. And the other thing is, you know, it might sound a bit formal, but if they've booked, it's then, you know, that official email that says, great, you know, you're on board. And you can even let the emails, the automated emails, do some of the nurturing. You know, you got your thing tomorrow. Like with you guys, when you book a workshop, you get an email that reminds you a week before and a day before. And that's there to help you guys, stop you guys from forgetting. But if that was a free trial, it'd be there to stop you from relapsing. Okay, on to the action style. So on with that, obviously, part of that preparation stage, so consultation, taster, whatever it is, there'd be a conversation that says, right, what next? What happens next? So we want to move you on to the action stage. So the thing that happens next is, if it's a class, you'll be going, this is the membership prices. If you join today off the back of this class, we'll slash the joining fee, or you get a free training top, whatever it is, some sort of incentive. If it's PT, then it's talking about the prices, what's involved, and this is the goal setting. These are results you can expect, blah, 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 blah. So they move on to the action stage. And this is a great place to be. This is probably the best place so far leading up to this, because relapse is much more likely at probably the first 3 stages. So they're actually engaged in the activity, but they still may have a relapse. They may just go, oh, this is too much hard work, I'm going to quit, because it's not a habit yet. And until something is just requires almost no thought, it's just what you do. I go to the gym on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, before work, after work, in my lunch break, whatever it is. I go to my exercise class on these days. It's just what I do. Until you get to that point, then there's a very high likelihood of just binning it off. Any ideas? Well, I think we've talked about in previous webinars, but any ideas how long it takes to establish habits? How many days or weeks or months?
I can't remember the exact value, but it's quite large, isn't it? It's like 90 days or something.
Yeah, the mean average is 66 days. We used to bang on for ages that it took 3 weeks to form a habit, but that was like the bottom of it was like a minimum. But even that, the latest research shows that some people can develop a habit within, you know, a couple of weeks. So the scale is that, sorry, the range is quite broad. It's for some people it can take up to a year of just keep drilling the same thing before it becomes a habit. But with the trans-theoretical model of behavior change, it's around 6 months. So the idea is, if you just keep supporting that person as best you can during those 6 months, so it's a bit like starting a business. The bulk of the hard work is launching it and getting off the ground like a rocket taking off, you know, off from Earth. Now, obviously, you don't get to a point where you're ever coasting, but a lot of the effort is in that first 6 months of aligning, you know, kind of your commitments, your life balance, everything else, your finances, and getting the kit, understanding, you know, how things work and what have you. So there's all a lot of learning, a lot of internal voices that are limiting self-belief you've got to overcome. There's lots to get your head around when you first start on a new behavior. And so this model, 6 months, after the 6 months, you're at the maintenance stage, which is a great place to be. Still, you can relapse, it is possible. But that's where I think, to be honest, the thing that's going to keep somebody at a maintenance stage is the relationships and the results. So whilst people are still getting results, they'll probably keep going. If the results start to dry up, I mean, let's be honest, there does become a time where certain goals that you're chasing after are going to plateau unless you're prepared to train even longer, you know, get dialed down nutrition even more, and not everybody wants to. But the thing that often keeps people going is community. So if they're part of a community that they like, if they like your, whether it's an online community, whether it's a face-to-face community, if they like it, they'll keep going. And I think about Alan. I think about Dan Gainsford is a good one for that, isn't it? The Way of the Viking. He's just got a great community, isn't he? Well, not just a great community. He's doing loads of fantastic things, but it's something that people just want to be a part of, isn't it? And that's probably what's going to keep people going in the long term.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's move on to social cognitive theory. So straight away, we've got some words in there. Social, we know what that means. Cognitive, brain, thinking, that sort of thing. The key points on this one is behaviours influenced by self-efficacy. So this is that idea that if we have a belief in our ability to accomplish things, to learn things, to overcome challenges, to get stuff done, then that's transferable. So if you can reflect on any experience you've had in the past where you've overcome adversity, or you've learned something and you've accomplished something, you've been successful in something, there's no reason why you can't apply it to this as well. Observational learning, meaning we actually learn really well from other people. In fact, it's one of the main factors that separates humans from every other species, including Neanderthals. So this idea that we wiped out Neanderthals because we were smarter. Well, apparently that wasn't quite the case. They actually had larger brains than us, but we are very, very social, and we learn from one another. So we band together, we can create communities, which means we can then designate duties and roles and jobs. So we get stuff done, we progress faster, but we just learn from one another. So if you learn a skill that meant you could make a fire quickly, you'll show that to the rest of your community, and then everybody can make fires really well, and somebody else discovers an even better way. So humans, for whatever reason, or Homo sapiens, are really good at learning from observing others. So we can use, obviously that has a downside, because if you have people around you that are using negative behaviors, we also learn those as well, unfortunately. But being around good role models is going to be very helpful. And reinforcement all the time, like reminding people, what they're doing is correct, how that's contributing towards their end goal, praising them, encouragement, all that sort of positive reinforcement. And we talk about that, don't we, when we do your gym inductions and your PT assessments. We say, tell people what they're doing right. And I used to hear it all the time. People would go, well, there's nothing to say because they're doing everything correctly. Well, tell them that then. Tell them that. Tell them what they're doing correctly, and specifically why. They've got good posture. You can see that they're engaging their abs. You can see them looking ahead, shoulders back, the squeezing, all that stuff. Just it's good stuff. Tell them, and praise them for their efforts as well. So yeah, sort of key points of that one. So with that in mind, what are some other things? How can you sort of take that model and think, all right, well, how can we use that to really coach our clients towards success? Even if as I was talking, was there anything that you could relate back to your own training and how you might use some of that to motivate yourself?
The example that springs to mind is like taking photos before and after, as it were, like progress.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that motivates people, doesn't it? And if you see, because often people do one at the start and one right at the end, but the problem is it's that the first sign of progress, you want to get all over that. You want to see it, you want to feel it, you want to believe it, you want it reinforced, because that will then whack up your motivation to keep going forwards. I read your forms that you guys submit, so your case studies that you submit. It always says that in one of the questions is what motivates you. So this is for the client interviews. and the number of times it says seeing results. So you can't just wait until the end to go, yep, you've achieved all this, you've done that. Every opportunity you see any progress, you've got to show it to your clients, because everybody gets motivated by seeing results. And sometimes results aren't always that visual. So that's where, like I've told you guys before, where I'm a bit sad and a bit obsessive and geeky over the data. And that's because I know the data is important. I know that if people see the data has moved in the right direction, they get motivated and they get excited about it. So yeah, I love that, Alan. Cheers. Okay, so you want to build self-efficacy, and this will be a word, unless someone's done any kind of training like this or studied psychology at school or college or uni, they won't have a clue what that means. So it's this idea that you want to get some easy wins in there. So don't just create a very ambitious goal and just keep heading towards that. Break it down and then celebrate those small wins. A small win is like, well, it's not even small, but if you have a goal to track all your calories in MyFitnessPal and not exceed your prescribed calorie goal in that day, and you do that day, big yourself up for it. Give your mind some focus and think about that and think, yeah. And as a coach, tell your client, give them, however you decide to manage that, whether that's in person, fist pumps, high fives, verbal praise, smiles, enthusiasm, or whether that's via online coaching with emojis and things like that, just recognition, and then using that person as an example for us, a group, and celebrating that person to everybody else, celebrating their successes. It all works, this sort of stuff. Some people find it a bit cringe, but the research shows it all works. Modeling. So share success stories or demonstrate desired behaviors. So, well, for a start, if you're training your clients to adhere to a certain lifestyle, you kind of want to follow that lifestyle yourself, because they'll be looking up to you as a role model. Now, don't be intimidated by that, because that doesn't mean you have to be in fitness model shape, because we're not all training fitness models. If you're training, average Joe, whatever you want to call them, you just need to be healthy, fit and healthy. So just make sure that you're modeling the behaviors that you're preaching, basically. That would be my suggestion there. And also, like, people get inspired by seeing someone that looks a bit like them, that has achieved something really great, something significant. So share that evidence, the social proof. So do it on social media, on your website, in your little communities, whatever. Incentives and rewards for reaching milestones. And these are technically, this is extrinsic. So this is an extrinsic motivation, which does have value. So if you, has anyone, so I know, Amanda, I know you've done running and what have you, but so I'm assuming you've picked up medals and things at the end of your runs. So you get medals just for taking part, don't you? And I love them, but I love them.
Oh, I find it quite cringeworthy, that.
Oh, I like it, because do you know what it is? It just goes in my drawer, and every now and then I open my drawer and it's just filled with medals. And the medals aren't because I've beaten other people. I look at those medals and I just see them as taking part in positive things. So I like it from that point of view. I like the training top as well. If you get one of those, they're quite useful.
Yeah, they're more useful. Yeah.
But it's what they represent, isn't it? It represents that you've dragged your ass out of bed on a Sunday morning, and you've dragged it over the downs through mud and up hills, and you've taken yourself out your comfort zone. You've pushed yourself harder than you would have done otherwise, and it's a step in the right direction towards being the fit, healthy person you want to be. Okay, we're on to the next one. Theory of planned behaviour. I like this one. Well, obviously I like them all. That's why I chose them. But this one, there's something in here that we haven't discussed yet, I don't think, really. So the key points here is it's shaped by our attitudes. So behaviour is shaped by our attitude. So what we think about the behavior. Subjective norms, which is really kind of a posh way of describing the behavior of the people that we surround ourselves with. And perceived behavioral control. So this is our confidence or self-confidence in our ability to be able to carry out this new behavior. So that the healthy behavior, or get rid of the old behavior. And changing these factors increases the likelihood of, taking action and getting the results we want. So with that in mind, how can we use that model to effectively coach our clients towards success? What are your thoughts?
My immediate thought was involving community, like getting someone participating with others, and they got social benefits. So it's shaped by attitudes. It's if you're surrounded by people with a certain attitude, you tend to conform.
Yeah, you have to choose your friends and your community wisely, don't you? Make sure you're around people that are supportive of what you're going after. And if they're modeling it and they're doing it too, makes it so much easier, doesn't it? Have you guys got healthy and fit friends?
I want to say yeah, but I'm thinking I'm probably the fittest at this point. But
yeah, I mean, I've asked this question before, and I think I got tumbleweed then as well. It's not that typical, is it? So in general population, I mean, even forget about our own anecdotal evidence. There's plenty of research out there that says that people just aren't active enough. So it's not surprising, is it, when we ask ourselves, "Are our friends are they active?" Because no, generally people aren't. So you do want to join a community where that is the norm. And I think we've discussed this on webinars before. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I used to work for another training provider actually before I set up Storm Fitness Academy. I had a period working for another training provider. Pretty much doing what I do now, but for somebody else. And I used to, every day, people would go, "Oh, what you got in your lunch today? Something healthy, I expect." And it was literally, it was that tone. And I'm probably a bit oversensitive to it, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like being treated as different, and that what I was doing was in some way, I don't know, abnormal. I wanted to be in an office where everyone's getting out healthy lunches and we're all going, "Oh, what's that? How did you make that?" And we're sharing ideas. That would have been, that's what I'm talking about, subjective norms. It would have been way easier for me to continue with the success of that. And imagine if the whole office were really big on healthy lunches and there was one person who wasn't. That one person probably would have adopted our healthy lunch habit because they would have been the minority. So for whatever reason, and it's I say for whatever reason, it's back to this idea that humans love to collaborate. We love to build connections and get on with one another and build tribes. And when we're made to feel like we're an outsider, an outcast, it's just harder. It's much harder. So there we go. So first one. So with the theory of planned behavior, the first one we actually talked about was attitude. So this is making sure that people have the right attitude towards it. So if you've got someone that goes, "Oh, I hate exercise, it's boring," then you're going to need to do a bit of work on that attitude, because they potentially have tried things in the past that just weren't right for them. And there could be so many reasons why that is. It could be that the gym was boring, that particular gym just didn't resonate with them. It was a dark, gloomy gym with boring trainers and boring people, maybe. So it's not just gyms are like it, it's that gym was like it. Or maybe just the gym thing isn't for them, and actually going to a circuit class or joining a running group or a walking group. Like, there's so many different options out there. So having a negative attitude is going to impact them. So it's reframing and trying to help that person develop this positive attitude. Thinking about the pros and then working around those cons. Subjective norms we talked about, yeah, just fostering a supportive community. and being around like-minded people that share your passion, really. That's why I love talking to you guys. We go to the workshops and stuff because we're all in the same boat. We all have this passion. It's great. Enhanced perceived control. So this is somebody's ability to, or their self-confidence in actually doing this exercise and adhering to this plan, etc. So that's focusing on what they've done in the past. That's worked well. Bigging them up for it, celebrating the small wins, getting to know them more, finding out what other successes they've had in their life, showing them other people as well that have achieved some great things, and there's no reason why they can't achieve the same. Okay, self-determination theory. I think it's number 4 we're up to now. I think. This is, I suppose, largely this is really about intrinsic motivation, which we talked about previously. So with motivation, you've got intrinsic and extrinsic. Extrinsic was like, getting that medal for completing that race. So it's where you're doing something for the end goal, or actually even like training hard, eating well, because in 12 weeks' time, you've got a holiday and you want to look great in those photos. That's all like extrinsic stuff. But intrinsic motivation is way more powerful. It's not that there's anything wrong with extrinsic. It's just intrinsic motivation is more powerful. It's more influential for adherence and lasting change. And that's because it's about enjoying what you do. So if you enjoy something, it feels like you don't have to motivate yourself to do it. You've also got three psychological needs that drive motivation. So autonomy, which is freedom to make choices over things. Competence, which is, do I actually feel like I'm competent at doing these things? And relatedness. So this goes back to community again, feeling like you're part of a community that is similar to you, shares passions, values, that type of thing. So with that in mind, so the intrinsic motivation, freedom to make choices, the autonomy, the feeling competent, and then relating to your community. How can you use that? How can you use that model to effectively coach our clients towards success?
I guess just by setting strong goals at the start, and then in your weekly check-ins, you sort of align closer to them.
Yeah, so with the competency section, people are only going to feel competent if you haven't made them feel incompetent. So making sure that what they can do is achievable. So people want to be challenged because we want to be better, we want to grow and develop. But if it's out of someone's capabilities at the moment, doesn't mean one day they can't achieve it. But if it's too much of a stretch for them, they're just going to feel incompetent, which is not a nice feeling. Whereas if you stretch them and they achieve it, and then it's like, yes, high fives, fist pumps, brilliant. We've made progress, we're moving closer towards it. Then they're going to get this feeling of competence and self-efficacy, which is wonderful for motivation because they're going to get addicted to that feeling. Yeah, nice. Cheers, Nathan. Anything else? Any other suggestions?
Make sure that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the sort of like the autonomy is by giving them some control over what exercises or what they enjoy, what they're going to want to do, rather than just being prescriptive over it.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so I absolutely agree. There was a study years ago, and I can't remember who, when, or whatever, but all I can remember is the rough translation of it. And it was where they had 2 groups of women, and I know straight away somebody thinking, well, if this is just women, can it be applied to men? But this particular example, it was women. 2 groups of women, and they were PT'd, and one group were told exactly how hard to work. I need you to get to that running speed. I need you to lift that weight. I need this many reps done. It was very, very specific. And then the other group were told we need you to work hard, and I encourage them to work hard and said this, we want to get you to a point where, you're going to get results, but they chose the speed on the treadmill, the resistance on the rower or the cross trainer, the weight on the machines and what have you. Now, at the end of the study, it was a number of weeks, they looked at the results, and the results were almost identical. So both groups got results almost the same. There was no significant difference between the two groups. But when they interviewed them at the end about their experience and their feelings towards the process and whether they would like to continue the process, what do you think the results were? What do you think, Amanda? You're a woman.
I don't know. I'm not your average woman. I probably prefer someone telling me what to do, but I'm sure it wasn't like that. I'm sure it's the ones that got to choose their
Yeah.
goals that were the most successful.
Yeah. Do you know what you're saying there, though, is that makes sense to me, though, what you're saying, because I would argue you're not your standard client. You're a fitness enthusiast. You're somebody that likes it so much you want to be a trainer and a coach. So you want to be taken to that next level naturally, which means tell me how hard I need to work, tell me what I need to do. If you were sedentary and you were just starting out, that might be a bit much.
Yeah.
So that's that's the thing with studies is you'll get a conclusion like that, but then you have to go, all right, okay, who were they? Okay, they were women. What was their background? Were they beginners? What was it they were doing? Can this be applied to that? So, but I just remember that, and there is other research that shows that if people have a level of autonomy, and actually it could be as much as if I'm training you, Amanda, I'm like, I'm going to work your socks off today, Amanda, and you're going to be limping out of here. But you choose which machine we do it on, so there's still an element of control or autonomy, but you're still going to work bloody hard. Okay, so involve clients in goal setting and decision making. So if I'm sat down with, not just Amanda, but any of you guys, and we're writing some goals together, if I'm saying to you, right, Nathan, we're going to get you towards a double body weight back squat. We're going to be aiming to hit that in 6 months. We're going to see if we can get you to do, a 12-minute Cooper run and cover 3 kilometers in that time. All this stuff. If I'm telling you, you could be listening to that and going, I don't want to do any of that. or it could be that you like the goals, but when I turn around and say to you, so in order for that to happen, you need to be at the gym every morning for an hour. You got to, and if you're like, oh, I don't know if that's going to be, realistic with my lifestyle and my commitments and everything else. So we have to involve you in the goal setting process for it to know that it's actually achievable and realistic. So that's where that autonomy comes in. Competence. So track progress. So make people feel more competent by giving them data again, showing them the results. Celebrate mastery of skills. If someone's technique's getting better, tell them it is getting better and tell them why and how, and keep reinforcing that. Especially those complex movements, back squats, and if you're teaching Olympic lifts, that takes a while to master those things. Relatedness, build a strong trainer to client relationship. So make sure that you guys have got, good relationship, good rapport, and with the rest of the environment. And when I used to work as a gym instructor, I would, if I was chatting to a customer, I would see another customer kind of earwigging a little bit. And you could tell they're itching to get involved. So I'd just pull them into the conversation. I'd be like, I don't know what you think about that, Alan. Nathan, what do you reckon? And then before you know it, you've just introduced two clients in the gym who now know each other. They've had a chat, and next time they're seeing each other, they're saying hello. And that kind of used to be my thing, was just to constantly build up connections within the gym. And I really enjoyed that part of the role. It was easy money for me, that was. All right, number 5, last one. How are we doing for time? Smart goal setting. You guys are experts on this, aren't you? Specific, measurable, achievable. I've gone for relevant on this one. Achieving a realistic, you sometimes see that as achievable, realistic, same thing. But relevant, to make sure it's relevant to the individual. Time-bound goals are essential for clarity and focus. Okay, so you can use your client as an example or use yourself as an example. How are you going to use smart goal setting?
You break up the larger goals into smaller, like you say, specific targets.
Yep, love that, Nathan. Absolutely. You know, I said that ridiculous ambitious goal earlier, didn't I? Of, you know, want to get to 10% body fat and the person's 25% at the moment, 15% drop. It's a lot, isn't it? So constantly thinking about that, like, so you want to break that down into segments. So it might be that you break it down into 3 lots of 5%. So we have milestones, probably even more than that. You know, you can create, I've done this for clients before, I've done it in Canva, where I can create a little thermometer. So for those of you that remember Blue Peter, is Blue Peter still on? Does anyone know? Is that still on TV? But they would be like raising money for something. And every time they got to a certain number, so they raised 100 grand, whatever it was, they would move the thing up the thermometer. There's a big thermometer. So I used to create one of those, and when my clients got to a certain milestone, I'd move up the arrow and I would WhatsApp it to them and animate it and stuff like that. So it's celebrating the milestones. Obviously, we want to make sure that things are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound as well. So, example there. I can't read it because the chat box is in the way. Lose 1 kilogram in 4 weeks by training 3 times a week for 60 minutes, tracking nutrition on MyFitnessPal, and meeting the prescribed protein and calorie requirements every day. So that's very specific. We can definitely measure it because we can track all that stuff in some sort of app. MyFitnessPal obviously tracks the nutrition. We don't know if it's achievable and realistic without talking to the client, but let's assume that that's been done. And then the time frame, it says 4 weeks. So we've got that in there. Set the milestones, just like Nathan said, and regularly review that because things happen, don't they? You know, life throws up curveballs, and sometimes someone's achieving the goals too quickly. And actually, they've fallen in love with training and living a healthy lifestyle. So you didn't have to be quite so reserved with the goal setting. So you can tweak it, make it even more challenging for them.
With this, you'd set the goal with the client, and then presumably you'd sort of, manufacture the rest of it, and then liaise with the client and see if it is measurable, realistic, or would that all be in that sort of one sitting that you'd work that out with them?
Well, to be honest, Nathan, it's actually entirely up to you. But you depending on your process, if you want it to be like, for example, Storrington Leisure Centre or Chantry Leisure Centre, they have a stage process for clients, and it's quite a thorough, detailed one. I think it's very good. But if you're running your own business and time's an issue, then probably do that all in one session. Do the consultation, maybe do some assessments there and then goal set with that client there. You could go away and say, well, I've put some, based on the conversation we had the other day, I've put together some SMART goals. These are our milestones. This is what I'd like you to do. Is that okay? Are you happy with that? Does that fit my lifestyle? And then tweak it and change it if it's not. Okay, let's talk through this. So a 35-year-old client wants to lose weight but struggling with consistency. Walk through the process of applying the 5 theories to create a personalized plan. So let's see how much we can remember it. So the fact that they're sitting down, having a conversation with you, and they have tried to do things in the past, what stage would you say they're at? on the trans-theoretical model of behaviour change?
Contemplation, probably somewhere between contemplation and preparation.
Yeah, so they're definitely thinking about it. So we know they're at least there. They're sat down with you, and it might be that they've said, look, I've bought some gym kit, and I've booked a consultation with you. So preparation stage. So we want to nurture them now, get them onto that action stage where they're actually doing some exercise. So calling them to action, identify any barriers, provide solutions to that, and then and goal set, get them excited about what we're going to do. This is the plan. This is what we're going to achieve. Build self-efficacy and use observational learning. So we're training the client. We're coaching them. What we're going to remember to build on that self-efficacy.
Celebrate progress.
Yeah, all the small wins, everything you notice, anything that we don't want to be fake. We always want to be authentic. So I don't like this constant good job, good job, good job. What is a good job? Specifically, what is making this person better? And you won't have to look too hard. If they're turning up to the sessions regularly, if they are doing the program, they're gonna get progress. There's gonna be lots to talk about. They are just the fact that they're like, if you're using an app to track this stuff, you'll get, like with Trainer Eyes, you can go in and you can see their adherence levels, and it's a percentage usually, and there'll be a green, they'll go to amber, red. So you can praise them for just the adherence, because that's really that's number one, isn't it? So definitely chat about that stuff. You can see that their things start moving in the right direction. If their weights are going up, if they're doing more reps, tell them that. Observational learning. So if they are, if they're part of a community, don't forget to celebrate other people's successes as well. And they'll be a part of that. Get them, sort of encourage this community where people will thumbs up, again, fist pump towards other people's success. So they're in it as a group, all moving towards the right direction, shared goals. Address attitudes, norms, and perceived control. So anyone remember what theory that one was?
Planned behaviour.
Yes. So talk me through that one then, Alan.
So challenging negative attitudes. So you've got to reframe barriers as opportunities.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and that's a big part of resilience. Resilience is a bit of a trendy word at the moment, isn't it? And that's essentially, resilience is seeing adversity as opportunity for growth, really. Now, obviously, there becomes circumstance in life that nobody wants to see a positive in, or an opportunity for growth, but it's that idea that you just keep moving forwards in the right direction. And then what was the norms bit?
Influencing subjective norms by fostering a supportive community.
Is this your notes you're reading from here, Alan?
It is, yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear you're taking notes. Yeah, it's getting rid of the wrong mates and spending more time with the right ones, really. It sounds so cutthroat, but I mean, I've had people in my life in the past that they're nice enough, but they just drag you down. They encourage you to make all the wrong decisions, especially when it comes to partying and that sort of thing. Perceived control. This is obviously about our belief in whether we can do these things, and essentially, if you've got the goal setting right, if you've involved them in it with the autonomy of them making choices too, they should believe that it's realistic. So with your support and your motivation, that bit should be taken care of. Foster autonomy and competence. So as I mentioned there, get them involved in the goal setting, get them involved in some of the decision making. I can work very, very hard if it's running. I'm pretty good on a rower. But if someone puts me on a cross trainer, I'll work hard if I have to, but I don't enjoy it as much. It's not me. So I won't get as good a results because I'm on a cross trainer as if I would have on a treadmill or a rower, because I like those things. So that autonomy, if a coach said to me, right, we're going to work on your heart and lungs now, what do you want to go on? Well, I'd say treadmill or rower. Competence. If somebody was teaching me, back in the day when I first started learning, someone's teaching me the Olympic lifts, they would have to break it right down, teach one stage at a time. Once I'd mastered one stage, praise me for it, reinforce all the good aspects of what I'm doing, and then move me on to the next stage. It'd be like levels in a computer game. Level 1 complete, boom, next level. Set smart goals to guide progress. We went into detail, didn't we? So for this particular client, the 35-year-old client, we're going to make sure that when we're setting a goal, a weight loss goal, it's actually physiologically doable. So if what would be a sensible target for weekly weight loss?
Like
half a kilo, quarter of a kilo or something.
Yeah, they sound good to me, Nathan. Yeah. Sometimes some people say like 1% of body weight. So if someone's 100 kilos, they could lose a kilo per week. But yeah, I mean I think the American College of Sports Medicine and the National Strength and Conditioning Association, they always used to go for the maximum of 1,000 calorie deficit per day, which is like 0.9 of a kilo. And ideally, probably a 250 to 500 calorie deficit, which would be what you said, Nathan. So good answer. All right. Here's some book recommendations here, and there's a spelling mistake. Look at that, recommendations. Oh, that really annoys me. Spell check didn't pick up on that one. Grammarly that I use. Okay, so these 10 books here, I mean, God, there's loads, isn't there? But these are 10 books that I've read and I enjoyed, and just there's overlaps throughout all 10 books, but certain messages you just need to keep hearing again and again and again. Have you guys read any of those books or heard of them?
Them I've looked at, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to home in on a couple of them. So, this one here, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. Really recommend that one. That's the idea that we have people either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. In exercise referral, actually, they call it an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. It's the same thing. So the fixed mindset is I'm just a result of my circumstances. There's not much I can do about it. It's my external environment. It's all unfortunate. My dad had this, so I'm probably going to get that. There's nothing I can do about it. It's that sort of, the sort of classic thing you might hear. A lot of doctors will probably hear from patients and nurses from patients. It's not my fault. Can't you just give me a tablet for it? So the idea is that if we adopt a growth mindset where we take action and we figure stuff out and we stay positive and we adhere to plans and we review, tweak, repeat, all that stuff, we're much more likely to have success, but we have much better mental health. So that's a great book, that one. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's been around for donkeys. I really like that. That's a really, really good one. I do recommend that. The 12-week year. This is really good. This one, you can relate it to training, but you can relate it to building a business. So both work really well. I love the 12-week thing. Well, I tend to do the 3-month thing just because my brain is like there's 4 quarters in a year, so I can go, first quarter, second quarter, third and fourth. But it's this idea that if we're always thinking about what we want to achieve in a year, we can put it off, we can procrastinate, we can just wait, and then what happens is people get close to the end of the year and they go, oh, I'm behind on my goals, I'll start again next year. Or they'll go, oh, if it's work, they'll be like, oh, blimey, I better work hard now because I've left it so late. I'm behind on my goals. So they just work hard at the end of the year and then don't achieve what they want at the end of the year. So it's having 12-week goals instead, because that creates urgency so you get more done. So that's great for business and great for training. And then again, I like all of these, but I'll just jump to this one. Rhinoceros Success. That's just a really fun read. I read that years ago, and it's just about this idea that you just want to be like a charging rhinoceros and just go after things. And you know, one of my mates always says, you know, you get an idea, just pull the trigger, just go. You know, you'll learn along the way, you'll learn from your mistakes, and you just keep moving forward. So a little closing note there. Empowering clients to make lasting lifestyle changes requires more than just a training plan. That's the easy bit, you know, the writing the plan and going, there you go. And actually taking someone through the plan, that is the easy bit. It's using those psychological principles to really create this environment that's just set up for success. Because at the end of the day, we don't want people to get these results just for that holiday they've got coming up or for the wedding or whatever it is. We want them to sustain these healthy habits for life. So that's where I see you kind of, and I see the industry evolving really, is more psychology. All right. Any questions? And if you don't have any questions, what is your biggest take home? What's one thing that you're going to go away thinking, I'm going to implement that into training my clients?
I think it's probably more about leading people in the right way, giving them the right frameworks to ultimately motivate themselves towards their own goals, rather than commanding or trying to inspire directly, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. And you can have like a, you know, like everything I went through there, you could almost compile a checklist of, you know, I hate the sort of, you know, 10 tips that, you know, blah, 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 but just a list of whether it's a top 10 or it doesn't really matter on the number, but implement these actions and you rapidly accelerate your chances of success. And it could be, you know, subjective norms, could be, put that in layman's terms and just basically say, surround yourself with people that share the goal of you, get a training buddy, talk to your family at home, explain to them how important this goal is to you and get them to support you with it, and just work your way through that checklist.